People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million US.
Okay, so this is where analysts are going to go, and they're going to evaluate this really bad speech. I mean, just a little aside, it's one thing to read from the teleprompter. All presidents do that, but he's reading really badly. He's not reading well. That's not a good indicator, but let's just take a look at the speech. It should come as no surprise that the minute analysts actually go to the where the documents have been posted and they actually read the documents, they're not going to find the stuff that he's saying is in those documents. They're not going to find that evidence. The evidence isn't there. This has already been explored. What the Saggy Caesar is trying to get us to believe, or at least is trying to express to his followers, is that while he was president the first time, China was able to infiltrate our election system and throw the election to Joe Biden while he was president. However, while Joe Biden was president, China was unable to throw the election to Kamala Harris for some reason. Look, we shouldn't be debating this. We all know that this is bullshit. We all know this is a lie. Look, and by we all, I mean we all. Left, right, center. Even the Saggy Caesar's followers understand that this is a lie, that this is bullshit. They are not duped. We have to stop assuming that the MAGA movement is just somehow duped and enchanted by this guy who's barely a competent con man. No. Look, when we talk about this, when I've talked about this in the past, I've always made it a point to say it's not about him. It's never about him. He is the pustule exploding on top of a much larger underlying infection in the American political system. And it all happens around the congealment of a movement within our society that has been around since the founding and was described by historian Richard Hofstadter as the paranoid style in American politics. And what exactly is that? Well, this is a movement of people who believe and have been led to believe and have this confirmed by people like the Saggy Caesar that they should have a privileged status in the United States. Therefore, all these liberals and leftists who are running around talking about equality and justice and rights that everybody has does not suit them. That is a taking from them as far as they are concerned, because that means if they live in a country where people have equal rights and equal status and equal position under the law and equal opportunities, then they have lost their privileged status. That's the foundations of this movement. People who are convinced that they are deserving of this privileged status and have had it taken away from them, have had it stolen from them. That's what they mean by take the country back. What they mean is take back the privileges that they should have intrinsically for whatever reasons, right? I mean, the sociologist Arlie Hochschild did a deep dive into this and did a deep dive into the mindset of those people on the right who seem to be voting and standing up for things that are not in their interests. And she referred to this as a deep story by which these are people who see themselves as working hard, and many of them, let's face it, they do work hard. They're working hard. They're struggling for for a piece of the American dream. They're standing in line for the American dream. And what they're seeing is they're seeing the government come and put other people in line in front of them, giving them an unfair advantage as they're working their way to the American dream. And Arlie Hochschild is an exceptional sociologist and an exceptional human being who's really trying to develop a sense of empathy for those with whom she does not agree politically. That is a laudable goal. But I fear it is a distortion. Because another way of telling that story is these are people who are standing in line trying to get to the American dream, and they see people in line in front of them whom they believe are not as deserving as they are because they're brown, or because they're trans, or because they're gay, or because they pray to the wrong God, they genuflect in the wrong church. They are inferior people. So how did they get in line in front of us? Well, it must be those rascally liberals and leftists who have given those people an unfair advantage, and they're in line in front of us. But there's no line. It's a concocted story. This is a story of resentment for lost privileges that folks never actually had, that these folks never actually had. And they are willing to let shit like this go. To let utter nonsense like what was expressed in this speech, which is just the setup for and an excuse for denying the American electoral system in a midterm that their side can't win. So they're embracing this nonsense. But make no mistakes about it. They know it's nonsense. They know it's bullshit. But they're willing to play along with it if it leads to the possibility that their lost privileges will somehow be restored. And they don't care how it's restored. Democracy is not their thing because democracy equalizes the playing field, and they don't believe in an equal playing field. They believe that the rules should favor them, that they should have privileged status, and that's what the Saggy Caesar is promising them. That's why they support him. So we need to get past it. Let's not spend too much time on this, because we knew when he announced the speech that it was going to be nonsense. We watched the speech and we saw that it was nonsense. There are already folks who are going on and they're looking at the documents, and guess what? They're nonsense. It's nonsense. So we knew going in, and everybody knows it's nonsense. Our focus needs to be on what this movement is willing to allow to happen in the name of restoring these lost privileges. How much violence will this movement tolerate if it means restoring the privileges that they believe that they should have? Or at least, how much violence are they willing to accept to take out and feel that their resentments are being adequately addressed by this fascist movement, by this fascist government? That's what we need to be focusing on. The validity of what this guy says is never, always bet against him telling the truth. Always bet against. You'll win almost every time. No, the focus is on this, quote, paranoid movement that is doing everything it can to upset all of our aspirations for a just, fair, democratic society so that they can enjoy the privileged status that they falsely think they deserve.